everyone on YouTube and also here in our Zoom. Lovely to see you all. And welcome to the OLS 4 graduation session number 2. We have a lot of presentations today, super exciting. Going to hear a lot about everyone's work over the last more than 16 weeks now. So without further ado, let me just run through our housekeeping. We have a code of conduct and community participation guidelines, the link to which is on line 18 of our Etherpad notes. If you experience or witness any unacceptable behavior or have any other concerns, please report to one of the organizers, Bernice, Malvika, Yo, and myself, team@openlifescience.org. If you prefer to contact one of us individually, then our emails are also individually on line 20 of the Etherpad. Welcome project leads, but also welcome our friends, family, supporters of OLS, and members of our community from past cohorts as well. Warm welcome to you. We'd love to know who you are. There's a will call section to you. Please say hi. Under line 40, we'd love to know how you feel, and happy to have you. All right, I think that's all. I'm looking at Yo for confirmation. Thank you. Without further ado, let's head into our presentation. We have Sara.
Okay, let me just share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Okay.
Perfect. So yes, hi everyone. I'm Sara Villa. I'm a molecular scientist a molecular biologist working in King's College London, and where I'm researching the molecular basics of chronic pain, and where I have actually started my path into bioinformatics and reproducible science without prior experience. So there we go. Neuroscience is one of the many fields that has joined the sequencing revolution in the last years, and specifically single-cell sequencing has been allowing for the past years the field to develop very rapidly with very important discoveries. And as you can see here, for example, in the screenshot of PubMed, the publications with sequencing datasets have been rapidly growing over the last years. Let me just take this out. Thank you. Sorry, I can't. Yeah, there we are. So, however, this expanded dataset sharing, neuroscience and these sequencing datasets are not outside the not new, but recently highlighted reproducibility crisis in science. We can see that in one of many articles pointing this reproducibility problem, that even when aware of the problem, a lot of laboratories have not even established producers for reproducibility in their laboratory techniques. Of course, there are many causes in this systemic problem and many lines of action. Here I have chosen to highlight the actions that we could actually take and that shouldn't be so hard to implement when there's a willing. So among them, you can see that using more robust design or increase the incentives for better practice, but also long-term actions such as mentoring and reproducibility or better teaching for young scientists are quite important. I am though quite optimistic about this, that there's already a change happening. There has been definitely a lot of steps towards open research, and a lot of resources have been made available to learn about reproducibility, open science when working with sequencing datasets in this case. However, in my experience, I feel like a lot of this material is not really widely known or used. And I was thinking like, why and how can we improve this? So again, from a personal perspective, I have found two main root causes for this, which is like for a wet lab scientist without any experience in bioinformatics or statistics, it is very difficult to select among all the resources what it is really worthy to learn and what not, and quite time consuming. And also when the selection is done, a lot of these resources are not really approachable for newbies or from a beginner level in bioinformatics or statistics. So having this in mind, for my OLS project, I thought I don't really want to reinvent the wheel. There's, as I said, there's a lot of resources already there. I've been quite inspired by the ones in the Turing way, for example, that, as you can see in the pictures in my presentation, are quite inspiring. So what I've been working towards is a compilation of all of these resources, which I have been complemented the knowledge gaps with other links or explanations so that they are accessible to almost any experience level. I also have included an example analysis pipeline where reproducibility basics like version control, for example, are explained and implemented. Of course, this is still ongoing work. I still have a lot of work to do, but what I have found along my OLS path is that I have indeed learned a lot about open science and reproducibility, and I have really found myself believing in open science and sharing even more than before. So this is just an example of how the compilation of resources would look like in a published book based in R, which will be available on GitHub and of course open for collaborations. And as I mentioned, this is ongoing work, so I do have a lot of steps to go through. Mainly I want to finish the compilation and start publishing it. The idea would be to ask colleagues to start trying it and find the difficult spots that maybe I didn't explain properly. And then I would like to start sharing on the whole community and maybe build a more general initiative within the field to maintain it or find contributors all around. So with this, I would like to thank you all for listening, the whole OLS team and the experts for the wonderful program they've created, and of course, my mentor for all his help and guidance along the way. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sara. It was lovely to see. Round of virtual applause for Sara. There's also comments on Etherpad saying that, yeah, love seeing the reuse and the acknowledgement of the existing open research resources, not reinventing the wheel and building on top of that as well. It's lovely to see. And folks, please keep your questions coming on the Etherpad. We're right around 9:65. So yeah, please share what your thoughts and your questions. Thank you so much, Sara. Next, we have Manu.
Yes, so I will share my screen and share a pre-recorded video of my talk, so I wouldn't do overtime. So hopefully now you can see my screen. And if you don't hear me when I play the video, please just let me know. Thanks. Hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Manu, and today I'm going to talk about my OLS project, which is called Sergio Cloning. First, let me give you a bit of background on the problem that I am trying to address. In a genetics lab, we typically work with recombinant DNA, which is DNA that exists outside of cells. It typically exists in the form of a plasmid, which is circular DNA. And the nice thing about recombinant DNA is that we can combine pieces of existing molecules to generate new ones. And there are many ways of doing this, but one of them is to use restriction enzymes, which are molecules that cut the DNA at specific places. So for example, what we can do to make this plasmid is to cut this piece of DNA that we're interested in and this piece of DNA that we're interested in, and then combine them to make this plasmid. This is just one experimental way to do this, and there are many more, but the important thing is that all DNA molecules come from others through an experiment step that combines the sequences. So you can imagine that every molecule of DNA that is in a lab has an ancestry tree of multiple molecules that were combined to eventually get to this point. The problem is that there is no open standard to encode the information of how a molecule of DNA is generated from others. So next, let's talk about the objectives of the project. The first objective was to generate a schema for the sources of DNA. This would represent experimental steps that combine existing sequences to generate new ones. And the most abstract version of a source in JSON form would have to contain a field for inputs, so the sequences that go into the experiment, a single output that comes out of this experiment, and a bunch of other experiment-specific stuff. Then, the second objective would be to make a web application to make the schema useful. This web application would have a front end in which the user can specify the input sequences and describe the experiment. Then the front end makes a request to the backend, which in turn returns the output of the experiment that then is displayed in the front end and can be used for subsequent editing. Eventually, the user can share this information in an open standard, and also you can imagine to integrate the backend with other tools. And finally, let's talk about the journey of this project in OLS. My initial goals were to produce a minimal prototype and to make the project as welcoming and inclusive as possible. Regarding the prototype, the application currently supports 2 kinds of experiments, and there is abstract functionality in place to hopefully support the extension of the application. So right now, if you want to add a new feature, you can borrow a lot from what's already there, so you don't have to write so much code. And also the application is deployed. So if you want to try it out, please go ahead and go to this address. In the future, I would like to add support for more experiments, have better tests and guidelines, and more. Regarding making the project as welcoming, as inclusive as possible, I have added contribution guidelines for different personas, namely researchers, developers, and researchers with some coding knowledge. I have added a code of conduct, and I had 2 people successfully follow the installing guide and install it in their computer, and I have received a code contribution. Finally, I've also added some help wanted and good first issues, so if you want to contribute to the project, please go ahead and visit the repo. And in the future, I would like to approach researchers to ask for feedback and hopefully get someone excited to build a community. And of course, there's no time for a demo, but I can show you that right now, if you would like to represent a cloning strategy like the one we described in the beginning, you could do so in the app, and it looks kind of good, I would say. And finally, if we all have learned something from OLS, is that the best journey is made in good company. So I would like to think that OLS is that lucky finding at the beginning of a hopefully long journey for this project. And with that, I would like to acknowledge, of course, the Open Life Science organizing team and speakers for volunteering their time for this program that serves the needs of such different projects. Of course, my OLS mentor, Sam, who met with me every 2 weeks and has helped me a lot throughout this journey. To the OLS experts, Joyce and Yaman, who gave very useful tips for front-end and back-end development. And finally, to Isaac and Nicola, who participated in this project during the eLife sprint. And special mention goes to Isaac, who's been the first contributor of code to this project besides me. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Manu. Round of applause for Manu. Looks great, fantastic. That's what everyone's saying in the Etherpad. There's a lot of comments about the explanation that you gave about recombination, and it really looks great, and that you already have managed to test your installation with folks. So that's fantastic to see. Thank you so much for that. There's also a question in the Etherpad that you could go and answer as well. Thank you, Manu. And next, I believe we have May, Lena, and Batul.
Okay, I will start my sharing screen, then Lena is going to start. And I apologize for the mask in a public place, so I need to add it on. Yeah, you can start, Lena. Let me just enlarge it.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is the research that we've been working on. Me, Batul, and Dr. May, of course. It's the metagenomics research. As you guys can see, the research is taking place in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, the capital. Is also the metagenomics drug discovery lab, in Kmark, Abdullah International Medical Research Center. you can see the metagenomics lab that we've made related to the project that we are working on. And it's the first antiviral drug discovery in Saudi Arabia. And they use various aspects of the next generation sequencing, NGS, and machine learning, ML, to build a metagenomics pipeline. And our research aims to shape the largest database of environmental DNA, eDNA, and the state-of-the-art metagenomics pipeline, for the drug discovery in Saudi Arabia. And Batul will continue with those slides.
Okay, thank you so much, Lena. So as Lena explained, this is a very, very new project. So we just started 6 months ago when we had a grant from the Ministry of Education, 1.7 million euro, which is 7.5 million real. When we trying to establish the lab, and we were trying also to implement as we can open science practices within the lab itself. But most of our staff really knew about anything to do with open science. We started with the citizen science project because our project mainly rely on collecting soil sample from all regions in Saudi Arabia. And to collect these, we can't do it ourselves, so we try to have a citizen science project, but we had a lot of challenges in really designing the citizen science project, and we went through all these open science practices in a really baby steps. So we started to use like research space. Lena is very comfortable now using it. We start using open methodology like protocols IO, GitHub with open source, making sure like we have the GitHub organization account for all the code that we use. However, we had a lot of challenges, like really implementing all of these within an academic setting that have no experience at all to deal with any of these things. And to share these kind of challenges with other group within the institution, we realized that we had to go back to the very beginning and reflect on the process itself to find the best way to build a very robust process. And that's why we joined the Open Life Science program. And now May is going to explain what we did within the program itself.
Thank you, Batul. So going through this journey with my esteemed colleagues here, we realized that we need, for this to success, we need to promote community building and networking. We need training. We need to make a noise. When we talk about open life sciences, people, they don't get what we're saying. Another aspect or a pillar for us was to facilitate access to the services. So we have lots of services, but this is scattered all around the places and people cannot access it. We went to the Scopus database and we identified the outstanding researcher because, again, the idea, we want to build a community. And yes, we built a research hub. We felt that that's the glue, that what we need. Next. So the research hub is linked to TEDOM. TEDOM is a women empowerment initiative. And mainly we want to support the academic, particularly young female researchers, scientists, and physicians. As Lena mentioned, we're in a university, a research center, and a hospital. So we want to build up bridges between all these entities. We want to establish a community of like-minded people. It will work towards increasing the visibility of the scientist, especially the early career researcher. We want them to apply open science practices. So to reach this point, we already, next. So the research hub, it's ready to launch next week. And the plan was launching the research hub. We wanted to as well focus on the training. With the help with Galaxy and Bernice, we develop a workshop that we will launch next week. A couple of lecture, just to tell people what do you mean by open life science, and just explore all these issues. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for this an amazing inspiration. Of course, thank you for the Ministry of Education for the fund, and for Bernice for all the time and the support that she provide us with.
Thank you so much, Bernice. Thank you so much, the Open Life Sciences members, for the effort and the great opportunity that I've had. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, May, Lena, and Batul. Round of applause for all the presentation, the lovely presentation, and for sharing your challenges as well, and being so vulnerable about them. Yeah, there's also a comment in the Etherpad about how love that you've got such clear future plans and activities, which is really exciting to see, and a question for you as well on line 94. So if you could answer that, that would be great for us to learn from you. Fantastic work. Next, we have Sebastian.
Yes, so I am sharing my screen. Can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, so hello everyone, I am Sebastian Ayala and I am going to tell you about ERCOM Bioinfo. First of all, we should know what is bioinformatics. In general, bioinformatics is the application of computational tools to understand biological data. And we can see this discipline as data science applied to biology, as we can see in this scheme. Due to the interdisciplinary nature of bioinformatics, its practitioners must hold a wide range of knowledge about biology, computer science, and mathematics. But traditionally, people with a background in biological sciences have not had a proper training on programming, terminal usage, among other computational tools for bioinformatics. Fortunately, now there are great online resources to learn the essential computational tools for bioinformatics, such as Rosalind, software carpentry, among others. However, most of these resources are written in English, so it could be difficult for many non-native English speakers to take advantage of these resources. So in this scenario, we developed ERCOM Bioinfo, an open source educational resource of computational tools for bioinformatics enthusiasts writing in Spanish. In this way, our users can build important skills to start their careers in this field, despite of possible language barriers. So ERCOM Bioinfo is meant to be a community-driven initiative where everyone can contribute and collaborate with the development of this open educational resource. This project is based on the contents of a study group and a course developed by the RSG Ecuador, the Ecuadorian regional node of the International Society for Computational Biology Student Council. So here is the list of the current topics of ERCOM Bioinfo, which have a wide variety of computational tools for bioinformatics, such as terminal usage, command line tools to process files, batch scripting, among others. So now this resource is available as an ebook powered by JupyterBook, and we will take a quick look of this ebook. So here is the main page, and we explain all the topics in chapters, and each section has a summary, some exercises, and we explain each concept in sections. For example, here is the lesson for pipes and all of that stuff. And also here is our repository, GitHub repository, for contributing, and to people can be in touch with us by this. So we learned a lot during the OLS4, including how to organize and manage open projects, the important components for open projects, such as licenses, the README, among others parts. So we also learned about the importance of making strong communities, the open leaderships, and many more. So the next steps for this project is to present this initiative in symposiums and other events, receive feedback to improve our research, develop our community to support the project, and apply for funding to programs to sustain this project in the long term. So finally, I want to thank to the OLS organizing team for your effort and time to organize this amazing initiative. I also want to thank to my mentors, Alexander Martinez and Jolene Colm, for accompanying me in all of this journey, to the OLS for cohort members, and to the RSG Ecuador team. Also, I want to thank to similar inspiring projects such as the Turing Way and software carpentry. So we welcome your contributions and suggestions, and you can reach out to me by my email or my social media. And if you have any questions or comments, you can put that comment in the path. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Round of applause. Yeah, it's really impressive comment in our Etherpad, and we love that you focus on language barriers. And Derek, also a couple more questions for you on the Etherpad, and also, yeah, thank you so much for presenting this in English, and we'd love to see presentation in Spanish perhaps at some point. Fantastic, thank you so much. Next up, we have Lisana.
Yeah, sharing the screen. Okay, I think you should see it. Let me just move your faces. Yeah, so I'm presenting Grassroots. That is a project to nurture the EMBL BioIT community, and I will start by explaining what these two things are. So EMBL is the European Molecular Biology Laboratory. It's an institute that has 23 member states and 6 sites across Europe. So it's a really widespread reality. And within the institute, BioIT is a community initiative that aims to build, support, and promote the computational biology activities within the institute. So I'm the project manager of BioIT together with Renato, that is also active in OLS. And what we do is training and consulting, or we support training and consulting within the institute. We maintain and build the infrastructure and resources that are needed for also community building and networking. And through the website and other channels, we disseminate relevant information within the community. So in particular, and through OLS, we wanted to highlight the open approach of the computational biology at EMBL. And this because EMBL, first of all, because EMBL just declared their open science policy. So it is in line with the institute policy, because it is a dynamic research context where people come and go, and a highly collaborative environment, because, but not only its internationality. So in this framework and in this type of working, it's very important that people can access all the relevant information quite quickly. And also adding on this, it is a specific interest of EMBL to build databases and tools. And so these data and tools should be available to the community, even outside EMBL. So the main question that led me to Open Life Science is how can we support the computational biology community at EMBL, especially in light of this open character? And I think the answer lies in collaboration. So Grassroots. Grassroots is a platform to support internal collaboration and consultation in BioIT. And the project aims were widespread across these points. So we wanted to disseminate fair and open principle at the Institute. We wanted to collect data about the EMBL personnel that is available for consultation and their topic of expertise, support their preferred communication channels, curate training material to transfer knowledge between them, acknowledge all the contribution to the project, and organize recurring events to allow community members to interact. What all of this means in practice is also that we need to understand the community, listen to it, and ensure that there's an open channel of communication, address their challenges that they highlight, and be clear and constantly communicate the aim, the value of what they're doing. We should also be receptive to feedback from the community and change your mind whenever needed, obviously. So within OLS and also beyond it, thanks to the help of my mentors, Emmy and Dave, and also Renato, who's my main co-worker, and is also within the OLS. We built a set of keywords to describe the expertise at the Institute. And with them, we are building this database of people that is available for consulting in order for newcomers to have this information available. We are identifying topic-specific or creating topic-specific communication channels. And we are creating a catalog of the past courses and training materials that are available so that, again, newcomers can have all the information, not only newcomers. Also, we're ensuring that all the expertise are represented in this year's training program. So my take-home message, and the main thing I learned through OLS is that you shouldn't expect collaboration to just happen within a community, but you really should build a platform around it. And for us, it meant to participate to events, to make all our working documents available, and spending time in creating guides on how to contribute, to communicate what we're doing through blog posts, and to run surveys within the community. And I will end with this slide. That is why I think the open approach is important in science and beyond. And I mainly think this is because of people. It is just better for people than any other model in general. So that's it from my side. I thank you and look forward to keep collaborating with you.
Thank you so much, Lasana. Round of virtual applause for our designer's presentation. Yeah, loads of just beautiful to see the clarity that you have and the reflections that you have as well. Folks love the thoughtful approach that you're taking, recognizing your community members' efforts. And it's also great to see a resource like a database of collaborators and consultants, which sounds incredibly useful. So loads of lovely comments in the Etherpad. Please do look through them as well. And folks, keep your questions coming for our presenters on our Etherpad. With that, handing over to Yo.
Thanks so much, Emmy, and thanks to everyone who's been doing an incredible job so far. I want to just quickly shout out everyone watching on the YouTube stream who's also adding comments in the YouTube chat box. We're getting even more applause than you may have realized from the Zoom chat and from the Etherpad. So thank you, awesome people. And I managed to store while my Etherpad refreshed. So now, next person up is Nadine. Nadine looks good, but I'm not sure if you might be on mute. Nadine, checking.
Now you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, and you see my screen, right?
Everything is working. Take it away.
Cool. Okay, so my name's Nadine, and my project is about developing a Python library for measures of emergence and complexity. Complexity and emergence are notions or ideas coming both from the natural sciences and philosophy to describe phenomena in the world, and they can be mathematically operationalized. And I wanted to have a library for these measures. So far, a preliminary name is Complex Pi. And the motivation is quite straightforward. So I wanted to do open, reproducible, and comparative research on those measures. And I found that this would involve to tackle quite a few things. For instance, making the measures accessible in the first place. So some of them have been implemented in languages that have profit software licenses. to develop software that complies to FAIR principles and to find the conditions under which those measures are comparable in the first place. And so I thought, if I need to put a lot of effort into this, which I need to do, and there are other people with similar endeavors that would need to do the work as well, why not spare the future potential redundancy and make an open source project out of it? The goals more specifically were to have a library that would apply a set of measures to a set of data sets using only one line of code, so being very simple. A library that would inform the user about how to apply them and to draw conclusions. That explains the measures in the first place via tutorials, for instance, and provides suitable visualizations of the outcomes. And of course, a library that is as stable as possible. So for instance, using test-driven development, version control, and making the library work on different computers and different environments. So regarding the achievements, I can put a big check mark behind this point here. So I managed to finalize code that does apply one or multiple sets of measures to one or multiple data sets using only one line of code. And it would look like this. So you would import the library and then specify 4 variables, which are about different functions to generate the models, different variables for the models, and variables which specify the measures that you want to apply, and take these variables as inputs and apply compute emergence as a function to them. You can also use the measures directly, just using them from the library. And yeah, if you don't want to do a parameter sweep, then that's fine as well. Regarding the educational resources, that's something I haven't tackled yet. I started to work on the visualizations and on making the library more stable. Regarding future work, there is a lot to do. So I would need to provide the educational resources for both users and potential future contributors and have a first release. Then implementing further measures is a huge task. I think very interesting for potential future contributors. This would mean, for instance, to port measures that so far have been implemented only in MATLAB. The measures I mentioned here, I provide resources for them at the end of the presentation. Implement measures from scratch. So this one here, statistical complexity, is a widely used measure, but I haven't seen it as part of a toolbox. Then one could also look into other relevant toolboxes like PyPhi or IDTXL to get some inspiration for building this library here. And that's quite a creative task. One could implement different interesting models to showcase the measures. And as I call them here, further supplementary techniques like machine or deep learning. If you're interested in that, I'm happy to talk about that later on, what I mean by that. And yeah, I do hope that with all of that, this will make the research on emergence and complexity more open, reproducible, systematic, inclusive, and therefore overall better. So I received a lot of support from, for instance, the broader OLS community, the OLS founders, my mentor, other OLS project leads, and other people. And I found particularly helpful the one-to-one conversations with my mentor and the code reviews that I received from multiple OLS experts, and also the inputs during the OLS cohort calls on open leadership. So a huge thank you to the OLS community and Yo, Malvika, Bernice, and Emmy, my mentor Dario, and Jessica and Sarah, who have given me some code review, and also Moritz Bose, who's also one listener who has done an in-depth review of my code. And finally, as a last thing, some resources and links. So if you know you're already interested in contributing, please ask me to give you access to my GitHub repo. So far I use unpublished bits of code. So this is why I need to keep it private so far. And if you're interested in hearing about my OLS experience or about my project or anything about complexity and emergence, feel free to approach me. Here are a few links to connect, a few links for the measures and the toolboxes that I've mentioned. That's it. Thanks for listening.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause for Nadine as well? Nadine, check out the Etherpad. There are a lot of nice comments with an incredible number of exclamation marks, excited exclamation marks, not angry ones, don't worry.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Elisa.
Thank you, Yo. Let me try and share my screen. You should be able to see my slideshow now, right? Great. So I just as a bit of context, I have a little bit of a different background from most of you here. I'm not a researcher, but a research supporter, and I actually have a background in history. I have an MA in history, and I was trained to do qualitative data analysis and not so much quantitative. So this has a background to my my presentation. So my project was about generic data stewards in the Netherlands and data stewards in Dutch universities and research institutes. They are research support staff who support researcher with their research data management. And we've talked about RDM in some of the cohort calls, specifically about data management plans and FAIR. So there are, generally speaking, there are data stewards who work for one faculty or department or research group, and there are generic data stewards who are centrally positioned and support all researchers within the institute. And I'm interested in the roles and tasks of these people because I'm also one myself, and personally I am positioned in a university library. What's important here is that the jobs of these people do not all have the title data steward, but I'm using this throughout just for short. So I had very ambitious plans initially where I would hold interviews and write blog posts, and I would make the results interoperable. But the cohort calls about project planning and management were actually quite helpful in setting a more realistic plan. So I went from holding interviews, which I'd actually done before, to using a survey to collect responses. And I'd never done that before, and it was a really good learning experience. I also had to find out how to use the survey tool securely and figure out how to draft a privacy statement with the help of the privacy officer for the library. And I already had some good background knowledge because I advised researchers about this. So it was also good to, for once, follow my own advice. I also used GitHub and I analyzed my data with Python. And I know that for many of you, this is second nature, it's peanuts. But for me, it was the first time. And I was able to use skills that I had learned in a Python carpentry workshop in December. So it felt very empowering to be able to do that. I wanted to share some of my results with you. I can't share all of them due to privacy reasons, because I distributed the survey to approximately 600 people, but I only received around 30 usable responses, or exactly 30. And what's interesting is that I reached more departmental or embedded data stewards than generic data stewards, which means that I may need to rethink the platform's personas and pathways that I'd assumed are applicable. Besides data stewards from universities, I also asked data stewards from university medical centers and also independent research institutes, because a lot of research is done there and they usually have very high quality RDM support available. So these main tasks that you see here, they were predefined by me, and respondents could select multiple main tasks. And the core skills were in open text fields, and I coded the responses and sorted them into these categories. And what you see here are the percentages of core skills and tasks, and these are percentages of all the core skills and tasks that participants identified. And since they could identify multiple, these percentages do not relate directly to the number of respondents. So for the future, I'm hoping to use my project as input for a follow-up project, hopefully in the form of a national working group to conduct more detailed study. The various aspects of openness discussed in the cohort calls were very inspiring to me, and I hope to conduct every future project as openly as possible and get colleagues on board. And already these practices of openness have completely changed the way I'm working on a different work project, and I'm really hoping that I can make this as open as possible. And as for acknowledgements, I would like to thank my mentors, Alexandra Holinsky and Carly Monks, who gave me such kind and wonderful advice and pointed me to lots of useful resources. The external expert Maaike Jetten advised me on the survey very kindly and very, very well, very helpful. And colleagues and my boss supported me in this program and the project. And the OLS team, the founders, and my fellow cohort members, you made this all possible. So thanks very much. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found it interesting.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. One more round of applause for another incredible presentation, and always nice to see a fellow qualitative researcher. So that's my own personal woo. Next up, we have Jyoti and Saranjeet.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
We can. Do you want to try present mode, if there is one?
Yes. Is this better?
Perfect. Take it away.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Today we are presenting our work through the OLS4 program on the project Building the Research Software Engineering Association in Asia region. We have been extremely fortunate to have Anne as our mentor throughout the program, who enthusiastically guided us with her expertise in open science and community building. We had two project leaders for this project, Saranjeet Kaur Bhogal and myself, Jyoti Bhogal. Saranjeet is a statistician by training. She initiated this project and I joined her due to my keen interest in the field of research software engineering. We both are based in India. We learned many new things during OLS4 and achieved several wonderful milestones. Getting selected in the OLS4 program was such a treat for us. During the OLS4 program, we learned and used GitHub as a tool for working on collaborative projects and created a GitHub organization for RSE Asia. We understood the importance of various kinds of open licenses and adopted an open license for our project too. We also got to meet a number of experts working in open sciences, website development, and community building. In October 2021, we successfully participated in Hacktoberfest 2021 as maintainers. We got a good response from people in the Asia region and launched the RSE Asia Association on the very first International RSE Day. We built the basic digital structure for RSE Asia, including the Twitter handle. For the launch, RSE Asia also got a mention on the International Society of RSE webpage. The entire launch event was advertised on Twitter handle. Batul created a welcome video for our launch event, which is available on the RSE Asia Association YouTube channel. Several members joined the RSE Asia community during the launch. We got a lot of love and support from the international RSE community on Twitter. Many people praise the efforts that are being taken for this initiative. As a future plan, I will be working on creating defined pathways for collaborators to get on board with the RSE Asia Association. Saranjeet has got selected as a mentee in the Research Society of Research Software Engineering Pilot Mentorship Program. She will be working under the mentorship of Michelle Barker to further the community work of RSE Asia. Furthermore, we both will be mapping the research software initiatives in Asia for the Research Software Alliance. We express lots of gratitude to the OLS4 program for getting us started with the RSE Asia Association. We are proud to be part of the wonderful OLS community. For further updates, you can follow us on our Twitter handle. You can also reach out to us on our email address. We have a website, a GitHub organization, and a YouTube channel as well. See you around. Thanks for stopping by.
Wow. Okay, another round of applause for an incredible set of achievements over the last few months, folks. That is so much growth. We have some questions in the Etherpad. Please hop over and answer those or add more if you have them, and we will move on. Diego.
Can you hear me? Okay. Just a second. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm here to share with you our project, Open Data for Nanosystem Synthesis Experimental Conditions. So first, I want to explain a bit about our problem. First, maybe you don't know what a synthesis is. A synthesis is like a recipe when you follow some steps to have some material. And as the recipes, small changes in the synthesis may lead to different results. And when you're working alone, it's like reinventing the wheel or trying to solve the same puzzle. So it would be better if everyone shares the information. If everyone works alone, that leads to making a lot of experiments, generating a lot of cost, and also polluting a lot. And finally, it's also nowadays not easy to find reproducible data on nanosystem synthesis. So what's our solution to this problem? We want to bring open data resources to the community of nanotechnology researchers. We want to gather existing data and create data sets that could make more easy to share information about how to make these nanosystems. Also, we want to make it fair. We want to make a community of people who can share this information among them. And finally, we want to teach others how to use these resources, because most of us, we are not native to this kind of technology. We are closer to cookers than to coders. So what we accomplished till now: first, we made a website of the project in a way to help spreading the information of what we have done. Then we finished our first dataset from the synthesis of silicon nanoparticles, and we hosted at Open Science Framework. And also we made a Jupyter book for this dataset, showing how to contribute it, how to cite it, and other important and relevant information about this dataset. What are the next steps for our project? First, we want to apply for funding to continue developing our project. We want to teach others how to use our dataset and our platform to expand its popularity. For example, organizing workshops, and also to contacting other communities like International Social Society. We want to design a template for new datasets in a way to expand its relevant, make it relevant for other systems. We want to create new datasets for other systems also. And we want to contact people who have made similar developments in a way to show us some insights of how to make it grow bigger. And what we learned in OLS, I think it's a wonderful program. We learned a lot in this journey. I can't believe it was so it happens really fast. For us, was like a blink. We learn a lot. For example, we learn how to design a project, its ambition and its goal. We start with some idea, but it helped us to make it more clear. It helped us to embrace and communicate the benefits of open science and how to apply it to our problem. And finally, and not least, it helped us to lead an open project. For us, it was at first a bit confusing, but I think now we have a clearer idea of how to keep making this project bigger and more sustainable. We want to thank you for your attention. Muchas gracias por la atención. And we want to thank especially our mentor, Graciel, who helped us a lot in this journey, and also everyone here. Thank you very much, and the organization of this wonderful program. Thank you very much.
Wow, okay. Thank you, everyone. Can we have a huge round of applause for a set of incredible, incredible presentations? So astonishingly, there are 3 minutes left before the end of this. Just checking, was anyone else planning to present today? Deep breath. Crickets, crickets, crickets. Maybe that's a no. Okay, I did not think this was going to be physically possible, but we have done this in time, and I have to thank every single one of you for being incredible with your timing, with your presentations, and all of the things you've been doing over the last few months. This is such an amazing delight. We have a survey at the end of OLS where we just ask how things have been, and this is also how you get your end of OLS certificate. So please do fill that out. You should have it in your emails, or we can share it again. Emmy reminds me that we need to do a group photo. So folks, we love your beautiful faces. We do not want to force anyone who doesn't want to share your face though. So cameras on if you would like to participate, cameras off if you haven't had your coffee yet and you just don't want to share. And I will take this in 3, 2, 1, and keep that face, keep that beautiful OLS-y face. All right, I'm going to post this in Slack. Anything else that we need to do before we wrap up, Emmy? We're good?
I think we're good.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. This has been amazing. I love you so much. Go away and pat yourself on the back.